Therapist reacts. 6 psychologically damaging things that parents say to their kids without realizing it. This is an article I read on Yahoo News by Catherine Pearson. I'm Jonathan Decker, by the way, licensed therapist, co-founder of Mended, and I want to dive into what are these things that parents say to their kids that are psychologically harmful, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. I'm going to talk about what the author lays out and offer my 2 cents. I'm right in sync with her for most things, a couple things, not so much. It's not a big deal. Saying to children when they are upset, when they're sad, when they're screaming, when they're crying, when they're overwhelmed, knock it off. I don't know why you're making such a big deal about this. This is nothing. I read this one and I went, because I've definitely done this. Because the fact is, what's a small deal to us and we think our kids should be able to handle it, should be able to cope with it just fine, it's a really huge deal to them. Remember, their worlds are smaller than ours. Are their responsibilities, their rights, their privileges, the things they have power and control over, the things that they are allowed to do, it's all scaled down. And so it's as important to them what all of that in their sphere, in their little world, as ours is to us in our bigger sphere. And telling kids it's not a big deal is saying your feelings don't matter. It's saying you don't have the right to be upset or sad or angry. And that can carry into adulthood, where people feel like they don't have the right to feel things and they apologize for feeling things. And so what Catherine Pearson recommends doing instead is saying, you seem really scared or frustrated or disappointed right now. Should we talk about it and figure out what to do? Now, I know that when I bark at my kids or I tell them to knock it off or stop it, I don't get the results I want. When I slow down and take a breath and interact with them and I say, it seems like you're feeling hurt or scared right now, should we talk about what to do? My daughter will start crying, but a good cry, like I'm being heard and just letting this emotion out. And I'll hold her and we'll talk about solutions together, and that's always better. You never or you always, right? You never pick up after yourself, or you always lose control or whatever, or you always lose your shoes. She points out in the article that marriage counselors tell couples not to say never and always. And that is true. I do tell couples that. And the reason is, with couples and with kids and with people in general, when you say never or always, you are defining a person. And instead of hearing what you have to say, they will either feel ashamed or they will get defensive and try and point out the exceptions because they don't want to be defined by this negative behavior that you're saying they always do or they never do, right? And so those broad statements mean that she says that you stop being curious about what's happening in this particular moment for your child. And what she says doing instead is reminding yourself to be curious about why your child is engaging in a particular behavior. And instead of shouting at them from across the room, get close, get down on their level, and just talk to them about it. And I would add, this isn't in the article, I would add, instead of saying always or never, rephrasing it to, this is happening enough that it's a concern for me. Okay? You make me sad when you do that. Catherine Pearson talks about, telling kids that you make me sad when you do that is giving them power. It's saying you have the power to make me sad, which is not a dynamic you want to be locked into, because then your feelings are the responsibility of the children, and if you're not happy, it's their fault, and if you are happy, it's their responsibility, and they might start to see it as how you feel is a direct bearing on them, that you're not responsible for your own emotions, or that they might start to see themselves as people who can manipulate to get what they want, that I can control the emotions of other people. Now, I do somewhat disagree with this particular one, though, because it is important for children to understand the results that their behavior is having on other people. And it's okay to say, when you act this way, I feel tired. When you act this way, I feel irritated. To recognize that, help them recognize that their choices, their behaviors have an effect on other people. But she recommends, and I agree with this, setting boundaries and then offering choices. Like, it's not okay to jump on couches, so would you rather play quietly in here or go play outside and make a lot of noise and jump around, right? The next thing, number 4, is you should know better. Saying you should know better is implying to the child that it's a very shameful statement that you're not smart enough, you're not intelligent enough, or that you're bad. Instead, saying, it looks like we've got a situation here, what should we do to fix it? Focus on solutions, not on problems, so that they don't feel shamed, but that they feel empowered to make things better. Number 5 is saying, just let me do it. Kids take longer to do things than adults, and especially if you're in a hurry, it can be very, very frustrating. So you just rip it out of their hands and you just handle it. That makes kids feel dumb a lot of times. That makes them feel incapable. You're essentially saying you're not able to do this. So she recommends 2 things. 1, if you can, take a breath, slow down, give the child the time they need to finish something. Imagine that they're almost done tying their shoes, and you say, you slap their hands away and then you handle it. What you're saying is, I don't trust you to do this. But if you're late and rushing out the door and you can't just sit there and stare at them for a couple minutes as they tie their shoes, you can gently say, I know you can do this. Or you can say, I know you're working on this, and I know you're capable of getting there. I'm going to help you just this once because we're in a hurry. Or I'm going to help you this time because we're in a hurry. But we can work on it together later. Is that okay? That way it's about time. It's not about their ability. And then the last thing is, you are a, and then insert a label here. Now this, obviously, if you say you're an idiot or you're a brat, then you are defining the child in a negative way. But even saying, you're so smart, you're so talented, you're so pretty. I was surprised by this because I always thought it's a great thing to build your children up and tell them, they're athletic or smart or whatever. And I don't necessarily think you shouldn't say that. But her point is that if you give them a label, they feel they need to live up to it. And what happens if they don't? Right? So if you say you're so smart, it's saying like, this is just inborn in you. This is just an ability you have. And then what happens if they fail a test because they didn't study? Are they now no longer smart? Are they now afraid of disappointing you if you find out that maybe they're not as smart as you thought they were? And it can lead to confusion. Instead, she recommends praising effort rather than accomplishment. Praising, and I wouldn't. Again, I would say effort and accomplishment. Always praise effort. My kid comes in last in the race, but they ran the race. They ran a race, right? And I'm going to praise them for that. Of course, if they get first place, I'm going to praise that too. Here's where I diverge. I want my kids to always know that I believe that they are good in their core. That there may be behaviors that are not right or behaviors that are harmful, and we can talk about behaviors, but I want them to know that, to me, they are good to their core. And if they do things that are inappropriate, they're merely acting out of alignment with their inherent goodness. So that's where I would diverge from this. But fascinating article. Check it out on Yahoo. Once again, the article is called 6 Psychologically Damaging Things That Parents Say to Their Kids Without Realizing It by Catherine Pearson. What do you think about her 6 things? Do you agree that these are psychologically damaging, or do you think she's off point? What about the points that I made? Or what things would you say or not say to your kids? Questions, comments, let us know below. We love interacting with our community, and we love it when you interact with each other. If you enjoy what we're doing here at Mended Light, like, subscribe, click the bell so that you get future videos moving forward. If you enjoyed this video, I want to direct you to our latest one. David Archuleta comes out as bisexual and talks about balancing his sexuality with his faith, and we use that as a springboard for a discussion about honoring the choices and free will of others, what they choose to do with what's in here and what's in here, whether or not you agree with their choices, to honor their free will and to honor and love them as people. And there's a perfect example, because there's someone on one side who would have him just embrace his faith, someone on the other who would have him just embrace his sexuality, and he's playing around in the middle trying to find what works for him and what's right for him. And it's a great conversation, so check out that video below. So until next time, keep shining because we need your light. I'm Jonathan Decker, signing off.